Okay, what you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. So make sure you do stay to the end of the video to find out which pair it is. And also, if you want to see a particular pair, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure I add it to the list. But yeah, guys, enjoy the video. Let's get straight into it. Okay guys, so USD up there. So for this pair, not much this week. I know we did have FOMC, but as you can see, pretty much still consolidating from last week, coming into this week. But price action is giving us a potential inverse head and shoulders here, the way things are shaping up in the consolidation, and also how we moved beforehand as well. And I'm still looking for push into 1.03500 into that key higher time frame daily monthly level of support for price to come back and retest that, potentially go short off that level. We do have some nice confidence around there. Obviously we have to see what type of price action we get there before we do jump into any shorts. But as things are looking, a potential inverse head and shoulders could be forming here. Not the cleanest pattern in the world, but it's the principle after. We're looking for price to form lower low, lower low, potentially higher low, and I'm expecting price to break through this resistance as we didn't fall to the downside, and I'm expecting price to snap through this resistance and push into that level there. Maybe some shorts could be good later on in the week if we do get there, of course. But for Euro USD, the safest place to get involved is on the break and retest of this level here, 1.02600. Nice little break and retest there, and you can look for some longs into 1.30500. Again, risk to reward, you probably want to drop to the low time frames to maximize that. Still decent pip range. We're working with about 100 pips, so still a very good amount of pips. But again, probably want to drop to the low time frames to make sure you can get a nice stop loss and a good target in there. If we do pull back, buys will still look good from this area because this is where we're expecting that right shoulder to form for that inverse head and shoulder pattern. So even if we do have a pullback lower, again, still looking for that push to the upside because we're expecting price to break to the upside out of this consolidation based on how we're looking now. Let me just tidy that up. And then when we get to 1.035, we'll start looking for some shorts. Obviously, I'm just putting these risk to reward tools up there to show you what trades could potentially look like, but we have to see what type of price action we get when we get there before actually placing any shorts. But this is kind of my plan for the week for Euro USD. Buys above this level here, 1.02600, or if you do pull back, 1.01300. And then if you can get to 1.035, we'll look for some sells, and again, a move back to the downside for next week. Okay, so up next we've got USD JPY. So for this pair, we actually collapsed to the downside this week. Again, we are expecting these reversals to be happening for USD JPY. We've been so bullish over the past few months. Actually, I was about to say a few weeks, but it's actually more like a few months. As you can see, and we're still trading in and around that key area here on the right. Let me just make that a little bit darker. At 135, very key high, big move to the downside from that level. So expecting to see some type of reaction. Doesn't have to be as big as that, could happen of course, but we're just looking for a reaction. And so far, because we just had a monthly candle closure, this is the monthly time frame. As you can see, nice bearish closure there. Nothing crazy, but a nice wick to the upside representing some exhaustion. So I'm expecting still some more downside for USD JPY. Some profit taking, some bigger sellers coming into the market. Some downside does look very likely. And you can see the weekly starting to pick up some pace as well. So again, the trend is still definitely bullish, but there is room to the downside for bigger correction, potentially a reversal. If things develop further. But yeah, for USD JPY, looking for a test of this resistance here, because initially when we did have the first reaction from this level, I said looking for a push into 131, didn't quite get there, came very close, and then we picked up again and then flew to the upside. But now that we're having this bearish momentum come back into play, a test of this level does look likely now. So I'm still looking for the retest of this level. Potentially, we can come into this area here, not too far away from that already. But if we can get a pullback and then continuations down to those lows is literally what I'm looking for for USD after snapping through this trend line that we had there. So the market is looking bearish now from a 4H perspective. So I'm looking for a pullback back into this area of support, which was actually the target for this week, which we smashed straight through. Back into this area around 134,500, 135, and then yeah, looking for that next lower high off the back of that, and continuations lower. We've got some nice lower highs building, first, second, third, looking for the fourth somewhere. Potentially could even retest this structure here as well, and form the lower high there, but essentially same thing we're looking for, and more downside back down to 131. So even if you do pop slightly above that level and retest this level just higher up, we'll still look for the same shorts, and target still 131. There's a chance that we could just spill over straight away to 131. If that's the case, there might be some nice buys, but like I said, I'm only focusing on shorts from now for the next few weeks for USD because there's a long way to go. I do see us coming back down to this support at least, maybe even further, which is around 127. So a bit more long-term targets there, 127, but for next week we'll look at 131 for USD. So yeah, coming to next week, looking for that next lower high, and yeah, some more shorts back down to 131. Okay, so now we'll take a look at USD CAD. So USD CAD coming into the week, I was bullish on USD CAD, looking for us to come back into this resistance and potentially also back to those highs as well, but the market is having trouble holding onto that support. So like I said, pretty much the same as last week. If we do break through the support, especially if we maintain this momentum, I would expect the price to eventually make its way back down to this area here, around 1.255. As you can see, a lot of empty space here, big move to the upside, not a lot of support, you know, for a price to find support and continue back on its bullish path. So if it does clear the support, stay underneath this level, from a daily perspective, I do see a nice swing to the downside for USD CAD, and eventually us trading back at this support. Going to the 4H time frame, you can see price is now struggling to break through. So again, if we maintain that coming into next week, sales will be looking good, stop loss above, wait for the break and retest, and then yeah, sales to the downside. You can look for the full swing. There are some areas of consolidation here briefly on the left. You can target, you can see that doji there on the 4H time frame, this area here as well. There could be some targets to aim for. I think price might have actually tested that area up close to test that area. So you don't have to necessarily look for the full swing. You know, you can look for a certain amount of pips, play for the psychological levels. 1.27 would be a good target, or you can target these areas of consolidation around 1.27600 and 1.26900 as well, unless you want to do the full swing, of course. But yeah, USD CAD unable to hold that support. So only way I'll look to buy USD CAD again is if we can get back above that support, look for the break, retest, and then some nice long to the upside. But with dollar looking a little bit weak, we could be seeing some more weakness for the DXY before we go bullish again. So expecting to see us break and hold underneath that support. So yeah, for USD CAD, expecting price to drop here as long as we can hold underneath that resistance at 1.28300, of course. And long-term targets 1.25. But we do have areas at 1.27, 800 and 1.26, 900 to aim at as well. So looking for this to roll over for next week. Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video. Okay, now on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, nice move to the downside this week, which we were expecting, looking for the next lowest swing high, which was this wick here. We were looking for the move to complete to the downside. I said back into this support here at least, and then I said I'm also looking for a break of this back down to 0.83 eventually, which is this major support down here. So that's pretty much what we're expecting this week, you know, continuation of last week. We have had that break, so as long as we can hold that as the retest, looking for the next lower high for a move to the downside. Has some really nice lower highs there for Euro Pound, 1, 2, 3, looking for the fourth one on the retest of this level, which looks like it's happening So next week, Monday, monitor price action around this area. If we're still rejecting, throwing wicks to the upside, look for shorts around the 0.84200 mark. And again, looking for a push back down to lows for euro pound. We could potentially break through 0.83 as well, but we'll just keep it to that level for the week ahead, because 0.83 is a major level on the weekly, daily time frame. So not really looking to push the trade too much further than this level. So yeah, and there could be some nice buyers from this if we can respect it again. So do watch out for that. But yeah, euro pound for next week, bearish on this one, looking for us to form a lower high around the 0.84200 mark and sells back down to 0.83 for next week. Okay, up next we've got Aodu USD. So for this pair, not much, very corrective in the way it's moving at the moment, but it's slowly moving to the upside coming to this area. Again, was looking for the market to roll over, still am for Aodu USD. We're still respecting this high time frame area, not quite respecting the same trend line as last week. We're sort of breaking past that, but again, it's not the strongest trend line in the world, as we only got 2 tests of the trend line there. We want to see at least 3, 4 strong confirmed trend lines, so it's not that important that we're breaking through that area. The main thing I'm still looking at are these 2 prior lows, potentially holding the resistance for a drive lower. So AUSD, again, it's a very corrective one, so do watch out. If you break through this, there's a lot of room to the upside for us. But AUSD is still struggling to break through. So if you can maintain that coming into next week, we'll look to see if you can see some more rejection, maybe a lower high form somewhere, and looking for us to move to the downside from 0.7, which is a big psychological level, back down to around the 0.68600 mark, potentially lows. I'm not going to say that just yet, because I still do think there is still room for some more dollar weakness before we do see some strength come back in. But a push back down into this key support, which was that prior swing low, to come back and retest that level does look good. So for AUSD coming to next week, short buys for this one as long as we stay below this 0.7 level and targets back down at 0.68400, 686. And yeah, looking for shorts for next week as long as we can hold that level. So buys for AUSD, bearish, and targets down at 0.684 for next week. Okay, so up next we've got NZD CAD. So NZD CAD this week, not much again from this one. I was expecting the market to go higher as we had a strong close above this resistance here. As you can see, was support there, a lot of weights to the upside. Strong close there coming into the week, but we've actually closed back underneath the zone and now still struggling to break through. In fact, we're firing some wicks to the upside and to the downside as well. I mean, to be honest, NZD CAD is kind of a big consolidation, but the key thing we're looking at is that price is failing to break through this resistance here, and this is the resistance that price needs to break for us to really see some upside for us for another retracement, because the market is still definitely bearish. As you can see, we've got lower high, lower high, lower high, so the market is still definitely bearish. But if we do break through that resistance there, probably see another push, maybe lower high, maybe back to that high potentially before we can roll over. However, we're not breaking through at the moment, so if we maintain this, and as long as we don't see another daily close back underneath, back above, sorry, as long as we don't see a daily close back above, I'm expecting NZD CAD to see another swing to the downside, back down to the lows here, at the low of the range at around 0.79400. So if we see a daily close above this, then basically the same as last week, looking for the retest, and the buys, nice target over here we're aiming for around 0.81600, but as of right now, we're failing to do that, so I'm looking for a swing back down again. So if we could see a nice little test of that level, shorts back to the downside from this resistance, again very messy in the 4H, but I'm using the daily to draw the level out. If you're going to use the 4H, you want to use these highs up there, and then expecting a push back down. But if you do see a daily close at any point during next week, look for the retest of the level, and then yeah, longs to the upside into that next target around 0.81600. So plan for next week. At the moment, still holding the level on the daily, so bearish. Do see a daily close, next day wait for the retest, and we can watch possibly a nice move back up again. But at the moment, still bearish, looking for a push back down to 0.794 for next week. Okay, now on to pound NZD. So again, very messy week for this one, very up and down. But again, the bias is still the same. The market is still struggling on the weekly time frame, but we're still getting all those wicks to the upside. So getting this bowl shape pattern here, and I'm expecting us to slowly collapse to the downside, back down to that support there for pound NZD eventually. Won't say for next week, because we could just see another candlestick trapped in this area of wicks either side. I'm expecting us, as long as we don't break through this resistance here, I'm expecting us to drop back down into this support here for pound NZD eventually. So that's the bias for pound NZD. You can see it's very messy, but we are slowly just rejecting that trend line to the downside and forming these lower highs. So as long as we can maintain that structure, expecting price to drop to the downside, there is one key support to look out for, which is this. Oh, did not mean to. There we go. One key support to watch out for, which is this 1.91500 level to watch out for. But if we can snap through that, a little break and retest would be nice as well, and some sells back down to that 1.89 level. So going into next week, still bearish on this one. Nice resistance here that the market is rejecting as well. If we can just reject that resistance, reject that trend line, sells from there would look great. And then target, you can look for the full swing if you want to, but below the range does look good. 1.915 or the break and retest of that 1.915, that daily level, and again sells back down to 1.89. So that's the plan, and the bias for next week. Looking for shorts for pound NZD, as long as we can hold this trend line / that level of resistance at 1.94. Looking for 1.915 and then 1.89 for next week. Okay, now on to CAD Yen. So for this pair, again, nice move to the downside this week. Felt that kind of happened for all the yen pairs. But CAD JPY, again, still trading in that monthly area of resistance. So as you can see, I'm still looking for this one to roll over. And now we're getting some nice confirmation that the market could be seeing some downside. Still trading at that monthly resistance, seen a bearish month, looking to see if we can maintain those wicks and see a move to the downside. So still expecting us to drop lower for CAD JPY. Coming into the week, I said there could be some nice buys from a couple areas, this area here and this level here. Did see a nice buy there to the upside at the start of the week, but then we did roll over. And like I said to you guys, I'm not expecting the market to fly off these levels because I do see us slowly rolling over. So again, be careful with those buys. But coming into next week, still do think we can see some upside from these levels. We are creating these higher highs up there past that high. So the market is still technically bullish, but obviously from these strong bear moves, it's a sign that the market is starting to exhaust and getting ready for a rollover, maybe to collect some more buyers to continue going up, who knows. But yeah, CAD Yen, expecting to see some upside from this level, so there could be some nice short-term buys at 103, 104, actually no, 103.800. There could be some nice short-term buys to the upside from that level, but eventually I do see us coming back down to 102 down here. So what I'm expecting for CAD JPY is a push higher from this level. So like I said, some nice buys in the short term, but then I'm expecting us to roll over eventually. We do have a trend line potentially forming there. Nice confluence with that break and retest of that prior swing low. Nice high, low, looking for a new one to form for another move to the downside, or you can wait for the safer entry, which will be the break and retest of this support here. Test it a few times, as you can see. If we break underneath this, pretty clean move to the downside into 102 there anyway. So slightly riskier entry up here at the 105 kind of area, 105, 100, but the targets still remain the same. So yeah, targets down at 102, basically 102 on the dot for next week for CAD Yen. Either looking for that lower high or the break and retest of 103,500 for next week. Okay, so pound USD up next. So for this one, we were very choppy coming into the week. We were consolidating, so I told you guys wait for that breakout. Price was holding this level of support and did see a nice bounce there to the upside eventually, with FOMC helping us out to the upside. I said to you guys, our target will be 1.21, 1.215, 1.22 into this level of support was our previous swing low, as you can see. Push, pullback, continuation, and now we'll be acting as a resistance. So I'm looking to see how we react with this. So far, Not too much from this one. We're into the level, but price is very choppy again. So far we are holding, so if you can maintain that on Monday, we'll look for a push to the downside back down to that same level we just came from at 1.195. So if you can hold those, if you can hold this level here, looking for shorts to begin with, and then if we have a potential breakout of this, we'll be looking at 1.235 to go and test that prior swing high on the daily. So if I just zoom out to the daily quickly, you can see this was our swing high up here, next swing high, looking for us to potentially either create a new swing high for another drive to the downside. But if you do break above, then I will be expecting us to revisit that high there on the left at around 1.23500, 1.234. So that is the plan for pound USD, to see what we do with this one, because again, still expecting some dollar weakness. So if we do break above, we can still take advantage of that opportunity. Break and retest of 1.2, we'll average out 1.21750, and then buys back up into 1.235, 1.24 up there. But yeah, monitor that early this week, because we're already at the level right now, so we have to see what's happening fairly early on in the week. But if we can remain that for some more wicks to the upside, expecting price to drop, if we do have that break and retest longs to 1.235, is looking good also. Okay guys, onto pound CAD. So pound CAD, not much from this one. Did see a nice push actually to start with, but after that we're kind of a little bit stuck. But the key thing is we're holding above this zone here. You can see really nice support was our price swing low. Price was consolidating there again, was resistance as well, failed to continue that bearish trend. And now we're back above our support. So we're actually looking to see if the market can stay above this for next week for a move to the upside. Again, nothing crazy. Market's still extremely bearish. We are trading at a very key area in the monthly time frame. Excuse me, on the monthly time frame, as you can see. So expecting to see some profit taking and a bit of a bounce to the upside here for pound CAD. And this is a great place where we think that can happen. We've got this trend line running through the market here. We've broken through as well, so some nice confidence. And as for targets, looking at the top of the trend line, the origin as our first target, and around 1.58 into that area is the second. And pretty much as long as we can stay above this level of support, looking for continuations back up to 1.58. So yeah, another retest of that would be great. Look for entries hourly, 4H, or whatever time frame you look for entries on. And I'm looking for a bullish swing to the upside there. Break below, could just see that trend continue for another leg before we get the reversal potentially, because we are still in that monthly zone. But yeah, pound CAD, as long as you stay above 1.55200, looking for 1.57 and then 1.58 for next week. Okay, so now on to pound yen. So pound yen, coming into the week, we were looking for some retracement, a retest of this level going through the market, and then potentially price to roll over. We did see a nice reaction, however we snapped above that quickly, but to me that was just a bit of a false break off the back of the news, and now price is looking quite bearish here, still respecting this trend line. So I'm expecting us to roll over and take out these lows here. And come and test, our nice level here, which I was originally expecting pound yen to come and test back when we're having this move here. Looks like the price has just formed on the lower high in comparison to this high up here, and now we're taking out some lows. So pound yen for me, back down to this 160, 159 target here. We potentially could go further as well. We're starting to see the weekly time frame show a lot of signs of exhaustion. As you can see, a lot of wicks to the upside, starting to see some lower highs of those wicks as well. We're expecting us to come back into this area, and we could drop further potentially if we see a lot of JPY strength coming back into the markets. But for next week at least, I'm expecting 160, 159. So as for entries, looking for the break and retest of this level here, or if we have an extended pullback, somewhere into that trend line would be nice as well. Maximize the risk reward if that's the case. But looking for a break and retest of 163, shorts back down to 160, we'll call it 159. I expect us to hit as well, but we'll play it safe at 160. It's a big psychological level as well. And if you do push into the trend line, looking for that next lower high, basically as long as we stay below this trend line, I'm expecting us to continue to the downside, and not as long as we're going to take out those highs as well. So 160 is the target for pound yen. If we do break past the trend line and past those highs, then yeah, we might be pushing back to 168, back to these highs and higher. But as of right now, everything is looking bearish. So yeah, pound yen back down to 160. Hopefully you get a nice break and retest. If not, we'll look at the trend line and targets 160 for next week. Okay, so now on to gold. So gold looking quite bullish, as you can see, strong closure there on the weekly time frame. Coming into the week, I was still looking for the market to go and take out these lows here, but it looks like we could be seeing some upside first. I gave 2 targets out to sell from coming into the week. One was 1745, which you can see we're breaking through currently, and the next one was up here around the 1790 mark coming into this zone. So it looks like the market could be seeing a lot more upside, because on the stream, if you guys not on the stream, make sure you go check that out. I do stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 a.m. to 12 London time, and we said if you can break through this, we'll probably see a lot more upside, because we've got a lot of empty space here to fill until we come into some meaningful level of support and resistance, which is this level here, which we broke through with a lot of momentum, never got the retest of. So we well could be having that retest before we do see that bigger move to the downside for gold. And if we can stay above 1745, I would expect us to keep this momentum up and push potentially into 1800, 1790, that area where maybe some shorts could be looking good after that. So yeah, gold for me next week, expecting more upside, seeing a nice potential reversal on the weekly time frame for those candlesticks. So I'm expecting momentum for the following week to continue in that bullish direction. As for entries, 1745 was a nice resistance. Now with nice support, throw some wicks to the downside into this level, that'll be looking good. I don't see us coming back down to these areas. If we do, again, buys will be looking good off this support. But like I said, I don't see us coming back down to those areas. If we do, again, still look for longs. So you know, I'll map it out for you guys. I'll map it out, but momentum is quite strong, so I'll be surprised if price does get here. But as long as we stay above this low, because that's our previous higher low, as long as we stay above that, I'm expecting price to push into the 1800s area before we can sell off potentially. But yeah, gold, more upside for next week. Hopefully nice break and retest 1750, 1745, and expecting price to push on for next week. Okay, now on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin pushing through to the upside this week. It was looking for markets to actually come back and retest the lows of the consolidation after we crept back in. However, the market tested kind of a mid-range coming into this area of support demand. Price tapped into that area of the range, and now is actually looking quite bullish. So Bitcoin could be seeing that retracement leg now after snapping through this high, and we could be actually seeing Bitcoin coming back up to this consolidation. All this this wick area here, because I'm still looking for Bitcoin to eventually roll back over. I'm expecting some upside and some retracement into some of these areas. Potentially, you know, we can hop into some of those areas around 40k, but this is a very solid level of support and resistance. So I do see us coming back to retest that before maybe declining. So I do think more upside is due after taking out this high coming into next week. From a trading standpoint, if you can pull back from another high low around 23k after taking out those highs there Friday, I believe, another high low, that'd be great. Let me just redo that. Another high low, that'd be great. And then yeah, continuation into 25,300, which is the low of the wick, which will still act as resistance. And then we got the trend line, I keep saying trend line, we've got the consolidation up there around 29-30k, which could present some nice sells when we get there, or monitor price action, of course. But yeah, that's the buyers coming into next week, into 29-30k, see what happens there, and then we may be on for some nice sells following after that. And lastly, on to our bonus pair, Peso, USD MXN, an exotic pair. We start off with USD ZAR as an exotic for our bonus pairs, and now coming on to Peso. So Peso is warming up for more downside. We've been seeing some nice rejection around here, really nice head and shoulder pattern, left, head and right shoulder. I do see a lot more downside for Peso. You can see these big exaggerated wicks from Peso, and they normally end up being lower highs. For us, you can see big exaggeration in the wicks here, a big push to the upside, another big push, and we've had another one recently. So I'm expecting another drive lower, back down to this support here. We may see some new lows, but this is a very strong support, so I wouldn't really look to push past that. So looking forward to climb back down into 19.8 for peso. We have broken through the neckline there. Not a lot of momentum, but we have broken through. So two levels look good for shorting peso for next week. The right shoulder resistance, well, the left and head, left and right shoulder resistance, which is this level here. The left shoulder, the head, right shoulder, and then also the neckline, looking to short from those two areas. So if you can maintain that resistance coming into Monday, because obviously we're testing it right now, great place to short. If we do snap above, look to see if you can come into 20.69 up there. This is 20.42 for the neckline, and yes, exact same targets, 19.89 we'll be looking to push this into. So see a nice bearish swing for peso. A nice head and shoulder pattern there, so as long as we can not break through that right shoulder, expecting us to revisit 19.89 for next week. Okay guys, so that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed that, found that useful. If you have, make sure you subscribe, like, join the family, hit the bell so you don't miss out any uploads or streams in the future. If you do want to see a particular pair for a bonus pair, let me know in the chat below. Again, if you have any questions or you want to share your own analysis or your own opinions, let me know in the comments down below, and like always guys, I will make sure I reply to you. But yeah guys, hope you found the video useful. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you all next week.